Circumposing is an artificial method of plant propagation or plant reproduction. With asexual reproduction, there are no sex cells involved, and the offsprings that are produced, they are identical to the parent. Another name for circumposing is marketing or air layering. Circumposing is a process whereby roots are made to grow on a stem while the stem is still attached to its parent plant. Of course, you need a plant. The plant should be healthy. You look at the leaves and the stem and ensure that the plant that you want to circumpose is healthy. The leaves should be looking normal. You need a budding knife, a secateur or roll cut, cords, or you can use tape, clear plastic bag. With the clear plastic bag, you can see when the plant roots start to form in the medium. So here, as you can see, I remove this circumposed stem from a plant. So here you can see where you have roots developed. Also, you need your rooting medium. Now the rooting medium here is peat moss. If you don't have peat moss, you can use sawdust or kayak. Some people use soil, but this is the peat moss. And of course, your peat moss should be moistened. Other materials you would use are like rooting hormone. Today we will not use rooting hormone. The plant that we will be using today is a croton, and the croton it roots very easily, so we don't need to use rooting hormone. Of course, you will select from your plant a stem that is pencil thick. So you select a stem that is pencil thickness. Alright, so we're going to do the circumposing on this stem. Now, if there are any stems in your way, you can use the secateur to remove those stems. So I'm going to remove this stem that's in my way. Now, and then remove the bark. So I'll select two nodes. You have an upper node. The upper node will be close to the top, the canopy, the top area of the plant, and the lower node will be to the root area. So I'm going to select two nodes 2 inches apart. So the node is where a leaf was once attached. Two things happen at that node. Roots can grow there, and stems and buds can grow there. So I select a node here, and I'll make a circular cut in the bark, just in the bark, using my budding knife. Don't want to go deeper than the bark. Alright, the aim here is to remove the bark. So in order to help you remove the bark, you make circular cuts in the bark, 1.5 to 2 inches apart. Let's use 1.5 inch apart. So you make a next cut now below the top node. So the first cut was above the lower node. Now you're going to make a next circular cut in the bark below the top node. Then you're going to make a line joining the two circular cuts. So you're going to make a straight cut in the bark, joining the two circular cuts, and the aim is to help you remove the bark. Then you're going to use the budding knife to remove the bark. Of course, you make sure your budding knife is clean, your hands are clean. So you can use a little alcohol to clean off your tools and your hands before you start. The reason for removing the bark is so that you can expose the phloem vessel. Now the phloem vessel, it can be found immediately just underneath the bark. When you remove the bark, you will expose the phloem vessel, which is here. So you scrape out the phloem vessel. So you're removing the phloem vessel because the phloem vessel is responsible for taking manufactured food from the leaves of the plant to other parts of the plant. So you want to make sure you remove the phloem vessel, and you do it 1.5 to 2 inches apart because you don't want the phloem vessel to grow back, so you give it enough space. Alright, so the reason for removing the phloem vessel is because the phloem vessel transport manufactured food from the leaves of the plant. So what will happen, the manufactured food will stop here, right at this node, and this is where that food now will help to grow roots of plants. Now we have two vessels in the plant. You have the xylem vessel and you have the phloem vessel. You will not remove the xylem vessel. If you remove the xylem vessel, the stem will die. Alright, the xylem vessels, they are mostly found in the inner part, to the inner part of the stem. The phloem vessels are found to the outer part of the stem, just beneath the bark. Alright, if you have rooting hormone, if I was using rooting hormone, I'll put the rooting hormone here at this place, because here is where I want my roots to grow. Now the next step is, if my roots are going to grow, it needs a medium to grow in, and of course the area has to be dark. So I'm going to use the bag for holding the soil medium. So this is my clear plastic bag. I remove the bottom of the bag. So of course, your hand should be able to go right through the bag. So put the bag over the stem, over the circumposed area. You're going to put the peat moss inside, which we will be using as our rooting medium. And then you want to tie it firmly using the cord. Alright, so it should be looking like this. Now we're going to put in the peat moss. I'm going to place the peat moss inside, ensuring that all this area is covered. So I'll squeeze out the excess moisture from the peat moss. I place the peat moss inside. I want to make sure that the peat moss covers all the circumposed area where I remove the bark, because there it will grow roots. Alright, I'm going to add some more. Alright. You want to make sure that you don't use too much peat moss, because you don't want to waste the material. Alright, so you make sure it is firm and the soil is right around the area. And then you'll tie with another piece of cord or string. Make sure it is firm. Now what you do now is to neat. You want your to be neat, so cut off the excess plastic. Remove the excess plastic and cord. So this is your circumposed stem. Now we will leave the circumposed stem for about 2 months. So within that 2 months you will observe, so within 6 weeks it will start to grow roots. When it is fully developed, you will see roots, and once you see roots, then you can remove the stem. And what will happen, this stem, this will eventually be a new plant. So this plant now, the advantage of this plant is that it will have a well-developed shoot system and a well-developed root system. Now when you plant this new plant, it will catch very easily. You can get a well-developed plant, you call them plantlet. When you circompose plants or you propagate plants from asexual reproduction, the new plants you call them plantlets. If you germinate a plant from a seed, you call that seedling. But in this case, this will be a plantlet. So your plantlet would have a well-developed shoot system and a well-developed root system. So that's the advantage. Secondly, this plant will be identical to the parent plant. If they want a plant identical to plants that you have, they would carry on. The circumposing method is very, very effective. Also, you can propagate these plants in a short space of time. You can have large plants in a short space of time.